I'm live, but I hadn't added myself to the stream. Hello, everyone. I just wanted to drop in and say a quick hello and a thank you for the I Love Glenner party that appears to be going on. How delightful! How delightful to catch it at this moment, just before the psychopaths notice it and start joining in. If anyone's about, I'm happy to answer questions. Oh, I have my Artie Morty tequila. First, hey, you are indeed well done. Remember first. Do people do that anymore? Is that just? I've seen people do that here, but do people do it generally? Do people go first anymore? Anyway, yay! It's glitter day. That no one notices. Yes, there's Artie. Artie, join me in here if you want, and let's continue the celebration of all that is me. I got a haircut. Yeah, I told him that I keep fighting with it, and I've been parting it the wrong way for 50 years. Looks like I've been parting it the wrong way for 50 years, and I asked him to do something about it. So, hi Natasha, welcome aboard. I'll tell you what happened the other night. I started streaming my games because my son has started doing it, and I thought, I'll see if that's something that I enjoy. So I started streaming, and I thought I was talking to a kind of invisible YouTube audience. Okay, so I was taking people through the game, and I was joking about playing Apex. Which is one of my favorite games. It's a kind of online shooter where you play with a team of two other people. Sorry, Tish. Oh, Tish. That's broken my heart. Anyway, I was playing this game and I was broadcasting, and I thought, well, I guess people must commentate on what they're doing, right? So I'm playing it. And it's a very kind of cartoony game. It's a bit like, what's that other one that everyone plays? You know, the one, oh, bloody hell, the names jumped out of my head. But anyway, playing this game. And I'm kind of ruminating jokingly to myself, but also audibly so that the audience can hear, the invisible audience that I don't even know are there. So I go, I just say as a joke, 52 years old, everyone, 52 years old. And a voice in my ear goes, "Happy birthday." And I said, what, who's this? And I thought it was someone from YouTube. I thought I'd got the settings wrong. But it was one of the other team members. I'd forgotten to turn off mute microphone. And he just thought I was announcing it was my birthday. So I said, no, it's not my birthday. I just mean generally. I'm generally 52 years old. So it was very amusing. And that's the kind of hijinks you'll see if you join me on my Twitch or YouTube streams. Fortnite, that's it. Thanks, Artie. Anyway, so I guess let's do a little question and answer. Happy to answer any questions you might have. 52, yeah, generally 52. Drinking on an empty stomach, that's not good. I should get a Deliveroo. But I had a bad food last night, and that'll be 2 bits of bad food in a row. What's something you can order on Deliveroo that won't make me even fatter? Anyone got any thoughts? Why don't you write a GC comedy? I think there's a wider comedy to be made, and I'm making it. Did you see Thatcher's latest attempt at being offended today? Oh yeah, wasn't it 2 people arrested for dogging or something? You know, it's like the reason gay men used to do stuff like that in the old days was because it was legal and they couldn't fucking go anywhere. I'm reading the history of Stonewall at the moment, and there's a fascinating bit about these trucks that used to be parked by the side of the river, like huge trucks, and in the back of the trucks were just hundreds of men having sex with each other, because it was just too difficult to do it legally. But now it's legal. Why do people need to go to parks and upset the birds? Bottled water and prawn crackers. Oh God, I'll probably end up with something like that. Sushi, yeah. There's a really good sushi place in Norwich. Would you believe? Well, I guess we're by the sea, so it's going to be good. But that's great. Yes, sushi is what I'll do. I might order while we talk. I kind of only got into sushi recently. I had no idea how extraordinarily delicious it was. I thought, okay, you've got tasteless fish on top of tasteless rice. Why is that a thing? And I happened to go to a place, I think it was called Hannah something in Kensal Rise when I lived in London. I really recommend it. Oh my God. I suddenly realized why it is what it is. Even talking about it, my mouth's watering. Yeah, I know sushi is calorific. It's got the rice. The rice is, I think, the problem. But the thing is, psychologically, I won't feel like I've had two huge, disgusting meals in a row. How do your friends react to your contrary views, re trans activism, e.g. Steve Coogan? A lot of them, stay out of it. It's interesting. I've been trying to get in touch with a bunch of people this week to try to get them to sign the thing in support of J.K. Rowling. And obviously, that whole thing was written very cleverly so that no one could be offended by it. It's purely a defense of a woman who's receiving rape and death threats. And I thought, okay, well, this is my opportunity to send out an email to all my old celebrity friends and get them to, maybe show some spine, Wow. It was as if my email was broken. So few people replied. And I will always have respect for those that did, like Xander Armstrong and Ben Miller. Not many, but several more. Griff Rhys Jones, who was my first boss in comedy, really stepped forward, and he brought in names like Anthony Horowitz and Barry Humphries indirectly came through him. It's just going great. And I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to keep sending emails to my absurdly cowardly friends and force them to sign it. Yeah, it's just extra. Oh, John Cleese, of course. Fucking hell. I mean, that was the biggest, Like, I interviewed John Cleese when I was 18 years old. I was a music journalist in Hot Press magazine. And the journalist who was supposed to do the interview, as many journalists were in Ireland, because there was so much free drink floating around at all these PR events, had a drinking problem. And he was done, but he had a relapse on that particular night. And so, because I happened to be around, they said, can you go out and interview John Cleese tomorrow morning in a hotel in, I forget, it was on the coast. And I said, yeah. I went out the next morning and I pretended I was an actual professional. And I had a great time. We really dug into things like why arguments are so good in comedy, and it was just great. I think it might exist online somewhere. I'm sure you could track it down. But Cleese was an absolute gentleman. And I remember the one thing I remember, because I always remember the most humiliating part of any experience I have. And the thing I remember most is that Cleese said goodbye, right? We shook hands. It's very nice, pre-COVID. He went into the bathroom of his hotel room and I was going to leave. But because I was so in love with him and everything he'd ever done, that I just wanted one more exchange. So I pointlessly said, I'm going now. Goodbye, John. And I heard this kind of confused voice from the loo going, oh yes, goodbye. So that was nice. So the two people who were very early influences and very early heroes of mine came back, And hey, Artie's going to join us. Arturo, hello there. How are you?
Very early. 1 second, I got to mute. I screwed everything up. Wait a minute.
Oh, I'm going to need my earphones as well. I forgot I'd invited people to join in. Artie, you ask questions of Artie while I go and get my earphones. Oh no, Artie's gone. I'll wait for a sec. So a couple of people like that, Cleese and Humphreys and Ben Miller and Xander Armstrong, and lots of wonderful writers. You know, they just really stepped up. Whereas all the people who I've known for years and have, in some cases, made famous, pretended they couldn't read my emails. You know, it's something else. There were some people I didn't ask, so don't think, oh, it's Chris Morris or it's Bill. You know, it's not the people you're thinking of. Okay, there were certain people I didn't ask because they are in much more vulnerable positions and they can't take a stand. You know, I mean, you know, it's like actors, for instance. The acting profession is so woke at the moment, with every other person under 30 identifying as non-binary, that you do have to have a little bit of, you know, you have to kind of be a little bit aware of people's personal situation. Like, for instance, there's one writer or one actor who I asked, and he said no because he's on a set at the moment. And there's non-binary or someone who calls himself non-binary actor on the set, and he didn't want to get into it. Hey, Artie, Artie, will you do a little dance number or something while I get my headphones?
Okay. Hey, everybody. Happy Glitter Appreciation Day. We should take this moment to grab a drink so that we can toast him when he gets back from whatever he's doing, getting headphones. I have to vamp. How about those sports? They're great. I don't know. Happy Friday, wherever you are, everybody.
I'm back. Sorry.
That's okay.
I'll just put my headphones in. So, Artie, I don't want to. Obviously, this evening is all about me.
Yes.
So, how on earth are you going to participate without taking the limelight from me with your sparkling wit?
All I'm going to do is toast you and laugh at your jokes.
Hey, perfect.
And compliment your wonderful haircut, although I'm sad it's not quite as mussable.
It's very unmussable, yeah. I did what it, like, basically, all I've done, every time I've gone to a hairdresser, it's my least favorite thing in the world, because they say, what do you want? And I just don't know how to answer that. I've never have. I just said, short. I have more hair. I want there to be less hair. That's my only fucking thing, you know? And I did that last time, and it was such a disaster that I've realized, I actually do have to be specific. So I told him, listen, I do this automatically, but I actually think it looks better like this. So if you could just make it so that I can't do anything. Although there's a nice little alfalfa thing in the middle here. Oh no, it might be a shadow. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah. What do we do? How do we do this? Should we answer questions, or no? There's no questions yet. It's fine. I'm just hanging out. I'm going to order sushi as well, which is big. Artie, how are things going in Canada? What is this? How's the situation with the whole? You know, over here we've had another great week. We've had a lot of Jenga blocks being pulled out. There was a fantastic Newsnight special like last night, which showed that the concerns that people have been in place for 15 years. It's 15 years of negligent medical practice been going on at the Tavistock, and also of course Stephanie Hayden lost his case lost her case against Adrian Yalland in the most hilarious way, and completely exposed his lack of knowledge about the law and all that sort of thing. So it's been like there's been a few Jenga blocks. Are there any Jenga blocks being taken out in Canada?
Yes, the big one is we still haven't started to turn around like the UK has. So we've got the province of Quebec and the federal government want to introduce conversion therapy bans. But gay people don't seem to be pushing for conversion therapy bans right now because they've the practice has all but stopped. It's trans people doing it because they want to attach the secret little sneak in those words gender identity in there. So that it's really about stopping children from being, put on the trans pathway unnecessarily. It's really appalling.
Well, it's such an interesting thing because when you apply conversion therapy to gay people, it makes sense. But when you apply conversion therapy to trans people, it actually turns into conversion therapy for gay people.
Yeah, exactly.
because telling gay people that they're actually straight, but they're in the wrong body, is conversion therapy.
Right. Yeah, exactly. If you can't attack their sexual orientation, you attack their actual sex body so that, you get one boy and one girl every time they,
Yeah. It's fascinating how that, again, is just kind of progressing so far with no one noticing this.
It's just a cheap, easy political gain. I think the politicians need to be shown this is not going to work in the long run. This is going to cost you. You really have to show them the cost benefit. Like they think it's a cheap, easy way to look, to look on board with progress. And we have to show them like, no, this is going to backfire. All these other countries are backing away. All these other countries are starting to wake up. Detransitioners are organizing en masse. If you want to be ahead of the curve, the first thing you need to do is jettison this crap,
Yeah, I got a piece by something very embarrassing happened, but luckily only, I've done so much worse that this is actually okay. But I got a piece by a Lizzie this week, and I thought it was the only Lizzie I know is Lizzie Burns. So I thought it was Magdalene's sister, and I thought it was by her, and it wasn't. So all week I've been sending messages to Lizzie Burns saying, I'm just changing this one thing. I'm going to edit this. This is a bit long and stuff. And she never replied, so I don't know what she thinks is going on. But anyway, she wrote this brilliant piece, and she said a really, really clever thing. She was talking about how we marched against the Iraq War, and there were millions and millions of us, and they just flat out ignored us. They just completely ignored us. And then she says, she says, so what does this have to do with the current gender ideology debate? The common factor is that most of the issues for which I used to fight so hard at university are still issues today. It is not in the interests of large corporations to tackle the climate crisis or tax avoidance. Progress has been achingly slow and inadequate in resolving these and many other injustices. Meanwhile, gender ideology has seen a lightning fast spread throughout the West. Why? Because it costs corporations, governments, and organizations nothing to echo empty rhetoric like trans rights are human rights and trans women are women. They can benefit from the seeming support they show for marginalized groups without having to enact any meaningful change.
Yeah, it's dirt cheap.
Yeah, I thought that really nailed it. Really, really nailed 100%.
It. And on top of that, you've got so many employees within these organizations who are trans, who are, quite frankly, lobbying very hard, Once you identify as trans, these days, very often it becomes an obsession, validating yourself, Yeah.
And the umbrella is so wide that it forms like an organized group of people who just call themselves trans. They can, maybe one person's transsexual, but probably not. They're just people who, have decided to put their pronouns in their bio. And currently, and I love that this is happening, they're trying to ban Joe Rogan. I don't know if you noticed it, but all Spotify's employees or all the the ones under 30, which is probably all of them, are protesting Joe Rogan and saying that they need to have editorial control. I love it. My big hope from that situation is that Spotify think, actually, we have to get out of this. Let's give Joe Rogan 20 million and say no more about it. Or the other brilliant thing that can happen is that, and I really wish they do this, Douglas Murray's suggestion, fire the fuckers. If they don't want to work for a company that, that should have freedom of speech at its center, then fire them. Fire them. Get some people. There's plenty of people who'd love that job, as Douglas Murray pointed out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, this has fucking drifted off me for some reason.
Yeah, let's go back to you. Happy Grab Appreciation Day. I'm sure you've seen some of the videos coming in and the messages, the pictures.
I know, it's very sweet, and I've been running around all day, and I didn't really have time to thank any of the people who were involved. There's someone who visits my site a lot called Gauri, Gauri, and I think she was mainly responsible for it. So thank you to her. It's very kind of you. But Gauri, you don't have to say nice things on my site about me. Everyone who is there is paying to comment, so I kind of know you're all gonna like me. You don't have to say anything more nice. Yeah. So anything else in here that we can? I love Joe Rogan. I loathe Joe Rogan, but yeah. Oh, Tiffany. It's Tiffany. Hey, Tiffany. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of find Joe Rogan. I don't understand why he's an interesting guy, because like when he was saying I might vote for Trump over Biden, that blew my mind, because I was like, why would you do, like, I would vote for Biden's face mask before I'd vote for Trump. Do you know what I mean? I mean, what is he talking about? And I guess he kind of sees like, for instance, he was saying he had that much quoted thing about Biden being like a flashlight with low batteries when you're going out for a walk. But Trump is just a stick that you thought was a flashlight. He's not like, what good is that? But at least Biden has a conscience, has empathy, is a human being. Trump is none of these things. Trump is just a walking narc. He's a walking narc rage. He's a narc. He's a physical narc rage. So I don't get why Joe Rogan would. It's so weird. Anyway.
Yeah, they don't seem to understand the stakes. Because if you're rich and comfortable, I guess you don't get it. But the stakes are real for people on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, the fact there's a pandemic going on, we've gotten away very lightly. Or America has gotten away. I mean, I know America's death rate is crazy, but my God, can he could have made it even worse, I think. So if there's 4 more years and another pandemic happens or something similar, I mean, will we survive it with Trump in power?
I don't think America gets through 4 more years of Biden. I mean, of Trump. No way.
Really? Do you think it's not going to happen?
Oh, I think it might happen, but I just don't think America could survive it.
Could survive it. Do you think it's possible that he could be voted in again?
I honestly don't know. I feel like the election is going to be so challenged. I feel like he's going to lose the popular vote. He's going to lose the Electoral College, and he's just going to, try to organize some kind of coup. It sounds crazy, but I think
it's not out of the question. I mean, he knows, as we all know, that as soon as he leaves the Oval Office, he won't be protected by whatever privilege, executive privilege, is that what it's called? And he'll be arrested for for the thousands of crimes he's committed.
Yeah, like the day he loses the election, he's going to be on Air Force One headed straight to Moscow.
Yeah. I remember a brilliant rumor I heard early on that where did I hear this? It was something like Trump had plans to get Air Force One and just fly off somewhere, like very close to the start of his term. Actually, that reminds me of a funny story. Let me tell you a funny story. So there's this guy. He is a driving instructor in London. He was actually interviewed in The Observer because he's such a fascinating and funny and interesting guy. I wish I could remember his name, but he's a lovely guy. And he was driving me. I was driving in one of my early lessons where I still didn't really. It didn't take in these early lessons. No fault of his. But he told me that once he had a job, and he applied for it, thinking he kind of knew what it was, but it was on a building site, and he was some sort of team leader or whatever. So he brought him in and he said, okay, these are the people you'll be working with. And it was a large group of people who were all gathered around, and he realized that he was their boss. Right, so he shook hands with all. Hello, hi, nice to meet you. How's it going? And we'll show. And he shows him like this. I don't know, like the ground level of where an office block is going to be built. So there's huge holes in the ground for all the girders and everything, and there's cranes and all this sort of stuff, and they're using all this terminology he doesn't understand. They're going, that's the thing over there, and that's the blah blah blah, and this is the thing. So right, got it, And said, okay, so let's go back to the office and we'll talk about it, So we went back to the office, And he says, can I use the loo? And they say, yeah, you're far away. And he goes to the loo, and he sees there's a window in the loo. He gets out, and he runs away. He never sees them again. I love that. Really tickled me. I'd love to get the full story, because it's a good one on retelling. Let me just, yeah. So that
you sent the link to other people too. You sent the link to more people.
They don't want to appear on this and this is a celebration of me. I'm surprised you're here, Artie. No, don't tell them to click the link. They don't want to come.
I'm sorry, I'm crashing your party.
You're just drawing more and more attention away from me. It's really annoying. Hold on a second. Matan sushi. No, I won't order that. I won't order from Matan because I've said it live, and some troll will probably ring them and tell them to wee in it. Okay. So yeah. Are there any questions or anything? maybe we should kind of start thinking about winding it up. What do you think?
I have a question. How is things going with your writing for your show, your fabulous project?
Yes, don't say anything about it. No, it's going okay. I've written a second draft, handed it in. I'm really enjoying it. It's getting funnier and funnier. I also rang a friend of mine who is famous, who I've worked with before, and asked him if he would like to be involved, and he said very possibly. So he likes it as well. So the only thing now is finding someone who doesn't think I'm Hitler. That's the difficult part. But if that happens, I think I'll just put it. I'll put it behind the paywall. I'll put the script behind the paywall, and I'll broadcast it. I'll say this is what I can't get made at the moment. I don't really mind that because. Weirdly, Artie, because now I'm making a tiny bit of a living from the Substack blogs that I'm doing. I can kind of write recreationally in a way that I used to. Like when Arthur and I moved to London, first of all, Arthur was my writing partner on Father Ted. We got a flat from Griffiths Jones, actually. He let us have his flat, and the rent was nothing. It was something like 200 quid a month. It was crazy. Maybe it was 340, but still insanely low. Yeah. And so we were not making a lot of money from writing sketches and writing, sitcoms that weren't being picked up or whatever. But we were able to do it. We were able to do it in this kind of recreational way where we were really making each other laugh and we're really having a good time, And then when I got embroiled in the whole gender debate, the money dried up, and I started, having to worry about it. And then the Substack came along. I mean, Twitter kicking me off was the best thing could have happened to me, really, because the Substack came along, and I realized I could make a living just doing what I used to do on Twitter, but in a more, I don't know, considered or substantial way. I wouldn't know how to phrase it. And so I'm doing all the stuff I've always done, which is sharing information and making jokes about crazy things and crazy situations, and at the same time I'm able to write this sitcom and something else that I'm working on, without worrying about money, you know. And it's brilliant. I'm back in Griff's flat writing stuff for fun, you know. So it's been really great. It's been a great few months, you know.
That's really great. That's
Yeah,
really great to hear. So
yeah,
glad.
yeah. It's good. It's good. I'm writing something else as well, something that's prose, and that's very enjoyable too. I'm really, really liking that because it's you know, because like there's a lot of things. I don't know about you, Artie, but I remember every awful thing that's happened to me. I don't remember much of the good stuff, but I remember all the awful stuff. I remember someone cuts me off in a line, you know, I still remember their face, you know. Uh, but by writing about some of this stuff, I'm able to kind of transmute it a little bit into comedy, and it's great because our heads are like, what was that? I think was it Yeats who called something like the broken down shop of the soul or something. I can't remember the phrase he used in one of his poems, like a scrap heap or a scrap shop. Someone will help us. And
Better educated than me.
yeah, and it's all this useless stuff that's just there. It's just lying around like trash in your head. So to be able to take some of the trash and give it a bit of a clean up and kind of, you know, make it useful again is really great. Nice thing to be able to do at this stage of my life, you know.
That's great. How can we help you? I guess subscribing to your Substack is the best way.
That would be great.
Have
Yeah.
Appreciation Day. How can we show our appreciation?
Well, no, well, I would say the Substack is great. Yes, please do that. But I'm happy to let that grow naturally. The thing I would say is if you haven't signed the J.K. Rowling petition, please sign it and please send it to your friends and so on. It's one of the it's what I loved about it when I saw it is that it's doing something. I'm going to share a link to it in the chat. What I loved about when I saw it was that it finally gives people a way they can safely come out and say, hang on a second, this is ridiculous. Because as we both know, J.K. Rowling said nothing wrong, said nothing controversial, and no one can really say what she said that was wrong. You know, they're all just blustering and bullshitting, and someone said this, and oh, here's a blog post about it. But one thing they can't do is share a transphobic quote because she didn't say anything transphobic. So so I think that this is a good, safe way for people to come out and stand up to these arseholes.
Yeah,
you know.
It's
Hey,
great.
there's Fionn.
Fionn, yay!
Hey, hello there. How you doing? I am getting a bit hungry, and I've ordered some food, so it might arrive. I'll stay for a while. I'll stay because you're there, Fionn. I'll stay for a while. Yeah. So I think sign that, send it to as many people as you can, and let's keep the momentum going. I am going to keep sending it to famous friends. And see if I can get a few more big names on there, you know.
It'd be nice to see some American names on there. It's very British centric right now.
Yeah, but America is where all this stuff comes from. I mean, America, it is the thing that I find most funny about this is the people who've adopted it here. I mean, they're not even aware of it, but it's just an American import. It's American. It's just it's like it started in America. It comes from people. It comes from ridiculous frauds like Judith Butler. And it's like a cultural invasion, you know. So it's safer. It's safer here to say something about it. In America, I think it could very easily end careers, even more so than here, you know. So it kind of makes sense that it's happening. I'll tell you a nice story I heard. One of the bigger authors who signed it contacted the organizers and said, it's really funny. Everyone agrees with me. They said, I'm not getting any pushback. Everyone agrees. And it's so true. You know, you just have to kind of give away for people to kind of to say something that's so clearly morally right. For instance, you shouldn't be sending death and rape threats to the fucking Harry Potter author. And people will step up. There's still a lot of cowards. Like someone I worked with. Should I say who it is? No, I better have a think about the ethics of saying who this is. But one person I wrote to, and I said, she's receiving lots of death and rape threats. We're signing this thing opposing it. And then I just got an email that just said, no, I don't want to sign that. It's like, oh, okay. Any reason? No, just no reason. I just don't want to sign it. And I wrote back and I said, you're the only person who didn't ignore it or didn't come up with some kind of theory or some kind of wriggle out. Just the only person who gave me a flat no. And I said, I basically told him, I hope our paths never cross again. But anyway, that's sad and depressing.
What about Rupert Everett? Is he on Twitter? Has anyone asked him yet? Because remember, he said that in his childhood he had been a girl, but he wasn't transitioned, and he was terrified of the idea of these children being transitioned.
Rupert Everett may not like me. I'll tell you why.
Ooh, more gossip. Okay.
Okay, he's a really nice guy, and I really, really like him. But he visited me once. He had an idea, and I didn't know how to approach it, and so I did that thing of which I sometimes do, where I kind of, he was still very eager and sending lots of emails, and I sort of semi-ghosted him. I didn't wrap it up the way one should as an adult, because at the time I wasn't an adult. I've not been an adult until all my closest friends started disappointing me. That's when I really became an adult. So that's like the last 3 years. But Rupert really wants to do this thing with me. I just didn't know how to approach it. It was too difficult for me to understand why it wasn't connecting with me, and it was leading to too many conversations about it. So I just kind of ghosted him. So I think he might hate me. I hope he doesn't, but
yeah. But I mean, there's lots of other names on the list besides you, so
yeah, but today is Glinner Day, so why the fuck? Why are you bringing them up?
I would show him the list and I put my thumb over your name and be like, look at all these people who signed it.
Oh, I can give you more gossip here. All right, Ricky, I was a very early champion of The Office. I loved The Office. And I was telling everyone who hadn't seen the pilot, you've got to watch this pilot. It's extraordinary. At that time, it was called something like Crappy Boss or something like that. And I was just singing its praises everywhere. I contacted Ricky. I said, this is great. You got to, I love it, blah, blah, blah. I spoke to everyone about it. Anyway, a few years later, we win, the IT crowd wins an award, wins a BAFTA. And Ricky's comment on his blog was, best of a bad lot. Best of a bad lot. So I thought, okay. I don't actually remember us falling out, but I guess we must have, because why would you be so pointlessly rude? So he's another one who I don't who I don't really call on in fights like this.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. Before all this, it was people slagging off my shows that really used to get me angry. Like Toby Young slagged off the IT crowd, and I developed a hatred of him that went beyond all reason. And I feel bad about that now, because even though he is a bit of an idiot in many ways, he probably didn't deserve all the terrible things I did. Like one thing I did, right, was I Googled Toby Young. This is terrible. I Googled Toby Young, all right, and I got loads of images of Toby Young. And then I deleted in the search bar where it said Toby Young, and I replaced it with London's Village Idiot. And then I took a screenshot of the whole page, and I said, look what comes up when I Google London's Village Idiot, and I sent it to him. But that was the period.
Very combative.
That was the period of my life as well when I was, and again, this has taken a beating in recent years, when I just thought that right-wing people were evil. I just thought flat out, they're evil, anyone like, for instance, I still wonder about climate change deniers. I still don't know what's going on there. That they can do that. That seems to me a very strange thing to do. But I realize now there are a lot of right-wing people, or people who, I guess, left-wing people would consider right-wing, who are genuinely decent, brilliant people, and haven't betrayed women the way the left have. I mean, I think that's a big test, because when you betray half the population, then I'm sorry, you go in the bad guys section, and that's what the left are doing at the moment. They're completely betraying women. Douglas Murray, who's on the right, has done more for women, more for gay people, more for black people, I would say, than, even though he's a bit silly on certain things. He thinks racism was solved and sexism was solved. It's like, well, no, but no.
It says some kid from Eton or whatever. Like,
yeah, he does have a few little weird blind spots, but I have to say, on all this, his interviews and everything, he's so funny as well. I used to think there were no funny right-wing people, but he cured me of that one. Douglas Murray is genuinely hilarious. He just ripped apart Owen Jones's latest book in a delightful way. So I recommend tracking that down.
I wonder if did Douglas Murray sign the letter, do you think?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's
Andrew Doyle. They should both sign it. I'll pester them on Twitter.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I didn't want to. There were a few. I also didn't invite a lot of gender critical writers to sign it, because I didn't want it to be, Yeah, I thought, well, we know where people like Jane and people like, I don't know, Emma, fond of Beatles. We know where they stand. It's better to get some names of people who haven't really, entered into the fray first.
At the choir. These people are already in the choir.
Exactly. I mean, I think it would be great if they all signed now, but at the time, I just thought, let's just get the people who, I just thought it's better for me to contact those people and see if I can get them to get excited about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Woke comedy is no laughing matter. The thing about woke comedy is it's a contradiction in. Sorry, that's Mark H here. It's a contradiction in terms. You simply cannot have woke comedy. It is impossible. Like you look at left-wing people are rude and cruel. Yeah, I was. I think I used to kind of make fun of people in a way that just dismissed everything they said, because it was like, well, it's coming from you, therefore it can just be dismissed and it's stupid and I can just make fun of it. And then, of course, people started doing that to me, and the boot was on the other foot. But yeah, woke comedy doesn't exist. There's no such thing. It can't be done. And I think part of the problem with woke comedy is that and the reason why people think it can exist is because we're so connected now that everybody thinks they have to take everybody else's opinions seriously for some reason. And they don't. The best thing a comedian or a comedy writer can do, and this is so different from me 10 years ago, Artie, is get off Twitter, because get off all social media. Because the thing about all that stuff is that when you joke about anything, someone somewhere will write you a response saying, "Here's why you shouldn't tell that joke," and that will destroy comedy. Mm-hmm. So,
it seems to be really riling up. Like, it's just, that's not the right. It's like it's roiling comedy right now. Stand-up comedians are just constantly struggling with how to,
Yeah, well, I met one comedian who secretly kind of gave me some support. Hasn't signed a J.K. Rowling letter, though. He needs to fix that. But he secretly gave me some support and met me for dinner. And he said that another comedian friend of his said, "The joke that will destroy my career is already out there." And it's so true. It's basically like, let me give you an example of what will happen. Let's say someone like, I don't know, let me pick a name out of a hat. Actually, I don't know any modern comedians' names. I'm terrible. Anyway, let's say some cancelable comedian decides to join in something like this J.K. Rowling thing. What they could well do is just say, okay, and they did this with me. I'm going to do a search of this comedian's name on Twitter and the word, say, faggot, or the word, some bad word, and they take anything. They did this to me. I did a joke about the idea of programming a gay pride march through the middle of Karachi in Call of Duty, and the whole point of the joke, which is clear when you read it, when you saw it, was that it was about enraging homophobic games players, right? And I had in quotes the guys trying to play the game. Still strikes me as a funny idea, trying to shoot each other. And this gay pride march comes through, and they're going faggots, and Linda Riley and this bloke from Anthony Watson, they both found that one and published it, saying that I'm saying that word, like I use that word.
So they were clearly just Googling for that exact word. They found it a hit, even though it was clearly in the context of you mocking homophobes. But they were like, we got something.
Yeah. And they did that. Another time, I've said this before, there's only about 4 screenshots they have. And one of them was saying, yeah, she's a fucking bitch, and that was about my wife, who was reading the conversation, who knew what I was talking about.
Joking along or something, yeah.
But they pulled that out, and that's part of the quartet of screenshots they use,
You can't be ironic, or they'll just totally, yeah.
Yeah. So comedy is impossible in such a world. And I think that the best thing that comedians can do is get offline. I really do. I think if you've got a burgeoning career in comedy, get offline. Does Dave Chappelle have an active Twitter account? No. And that's why Dave Chappelle is the voice of the free folk. That's what I call him, Oh, now this is a good question. Yes, I do. I really, really do. I think that in Gamergate, I was manipulated. Not to say that I was altogether in the right myself, or that I didn't have agency. But I do think that I was manipulated into thinking a lot of people were evil who weren't evil. Like, I was looking at all the kind of really bad stories about Gamergate, and there were a few. There was definitely a side of Gamergate that was misogynistic, and that was using the idea of what was the cliche they always used to say? Ethics.
It's about ethics and
it's about ethics in video game journalism. And the thing is, the problem with that was it was that, and it wasn't. And it was a misogynistic hate campaign, and it wasn't. It was a bunch of things at the same time. But I thought that anyone supporting Gamergate must support the doxing of women. There were some terrible stories. Like one woman, the thing that SWAT teams do when you're doxed, or not doxed, when you're swatted, is the first thing they do is kill the pet. That's the first thing they do. Yeah. Wow. And so, one woman lost her pet dog because someone phoned up as a laugh and did this to her, So that stuff, and again, I've got that white knight thing, which I realize is a bit of a flaw, but I can't bear seeing women being bullied online. It drives me insane, But then, as as this new kind of the gender debate started raging on, I realized that a lot of people whose side I was on in Gamergate were actually con men, and some of the time I thought I was defending women, and I wasn't. I was defending men, like that super gamer girl, who's like a bloke who, as I always say, had a huge fat nerd with a fucking giant beard down to his testicles, and he was calling himself Super Gamer Girl. You know, it was outrageous. It's still extraordinary. And Brianna Wu, who I thought was, you know, again, it was just very disingenuous the way it was played. It was played as if a lot of women were being attacked. But what in fact was happening quite a great deal of the time was that it was a kind of interscene. Is that the word? Internecine. Yeah, one of those words I never say out loud. War between different groups of very online men. You know, and I sometimes when I was kind of shooting at the really bad ones, like all the Pepe Nazis, all that type.
Memories.
I would hit a lot of good guys as well with my machine gun spray.
Well, Gamergate was one of those really weird things where it was like right on the line. There were some good points on both sides. I think some people in journalism were being woke about certain games that it, you know, and the people who reacted against that were being misogynistic. So it was like almost like a litmus test or a Rorschach blot. If you already are inclined to be frustrated that there's too much wokeness in journalism, you're just going to freak out over that aspect of it. But if you're inclined to notice all the misogyny in the gaming community, you're going to freak out over that. And so you always see these issues that fall right on the net are the ones that cause all the issues, you know?
Yeah.
And this, I think, was a perfect example where you could easily see yourself falling on one side or the other of the net, just depending on just how slightly you weigh one issue over the other in your personal, you know.
Yeah. That makes sense to me. Yeah. I think it you know, and I think that some of the people who were involved in that turned out to be some of the very worst, you know, most abusive people in the gender ideology fight, you know. So I was so yeah, I've very different thoughts about that. And the fact that I have as I always say, I have my Twitter archive, you know, but I'm really glad my Twitter account has been completely demolished, because I'm more embarrassed about stuff I did when I thought I was absolutely in the right and I was fighting the forces of evil than I am about, you know, I really am proud of everything I've done in the gender ideology debate, because I know I'm right there. Because what I didn't do during Gamergate was I did no self-reflection. I never thought, am I right? Am I on the right side? Am I being manipulated? Blah, 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 blah. Whereas in this fight, I've asked, you know what it's like, Artie, because everyone says you're evil. You ask yourself, am I evil? 100 times a day.
Every day.
Yeah. You sometimes go, well, have I got this wrong? Is there something I'm missing? And so on. But
always double checking. Yeah.
Yeah. But you sift through it and you think, no, there's nothing wrong with any of this. There's nothing wrong with saying that, you know, the fact that you're gender non-conforming doesn't mean you're the opposite sex. There's nothing wrong with saying that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah. So thank you for asking that question about Gamergate. I really like the chance to talk about it, because it's and Count Dankula, as people say, yeah, I fucked up there. I fucked up really badly. The thing that happened with Count Dankula is I was so terrified about Trump. I genuinely thought it was going to end the world, and I thought, you know, because we're all idiots on social media, I must do something to stop Trump. So any kind of sign of what I thought was right-wing activism, which I thought Count Dankula was. I thought he was doing a heavily disguised version of this. And then I saw the photographs with Tommy Robinson, and I saw a few other things, like the fact that Stormfront liked his videos. And I just went to town on it. You know, I just thought, oh, this guy is a fascist and he's pretending not to be. And I fucked up badly. And I do hope to make it up to him someday. I will in some way. Maybe not by interviewing him, because I don't think I could take half an hour of looking in his face. I'd be so embarrassed throughout. I might have to turn off my camera, you know, because I'd be blushing throughout the whole thing, you know.
But you know what? It's so good of you to say that and to be so forthright about your mistakes, because that's inviting other people to reflect on their own mistakes. Again, it's Glinner Appreciation Day, so let's take a moment. It is so good that you're doing that. And you're saying, look, I did this thing. I was wrong. and so can you. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's but also I think that once the conversation about gender ideology is done, if it ever can be done, I don't know how possible that is, but once we've moved on to something else, I think we have to ask ourselves, why did it break out like it did? Why did it catch fire in such a crazy way? Why was there a 5,000% uptick or 4,000% uptick in young girls reporting to gender clinics? And I know the answer is, in a very, very broad way, is basically the internet. It's the internet. The internet has created this situation.
A perfect storm. It's extraordinary, though. All the things that lined up. The fact that the gay rights
Yes.
infrastructure lobby needed a new cause because it was running out. The fact that everything's become so polarized and people's on the left and the right. The internet puts people into silos. Pharmaceutical law industry is making. It's just like a perfect storm of so many things. It's extraordinary, isn't it? It's really, really. I think it just so reflects the times when there's going to be like end of the decade. You know, in the year 2030, when we look back at the 2020s, this is going to be the big thing, you know?
Yeah, I think so too. I think the way I often describe this to people is it's the first post-internet mass delusion, you know? Like we had the satanic panic, you know, I mean, God knows what would have happened if the Scientologists, when it was really picking up, had access to the internet, you know? That would have been.
Dianetics is still the #1 best-selling book of all time. And when it first came out, Scientology was millions of people were into it. It was the biggest phenomenon ever at the time. We see it now as this fringe, crazy cult that's fun to study, but we have to forget it was in the limelight in the center of, the cultural zeitgeist for a good couple of years there.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, we have a situation whereby attractive but psychotic people, like if you think of Ripley from the Patricia Highsmith books, Tom Ripley, or the guy in American Psycho. These people all have access to the internet, and they can inject their madness into the bloodstream of all of our consciousness, you know, and we have to start building up defenses to that, because if we don't, we're going to get back into this situation. Like we are now in a situation where friends and family are falling out over this, are not talking to each other. You know, my story is the same as I've lost friends, I've lost family members, I've lost many, many things, but I'm not unique. It's happening all over the place. And we need to inoculate ourselves against it, because it could so easily happen again, but happen on another area or arena or whatever you want to call it. You know?
Absolutely. This is so important. Even if this issue ends up, resolving in the next few years, the damage that's been done is horrible, but it could be even worse, because it's the same principle you can apply to, these purity spirals. This is what happened in Cambodia. It may sound, obviously many more people died in Cambodia under the Khmer Rouge, but the principles that underlied it, young people being indoctrinated and going absolutely crazy and attacking their relatives and friends and their old elders, it's the same mechanics underneath.
Yes. I'll tell you who's great on this. It's worth reading. Milan Kundera. Milan Kundera's books about the Czech Revolution. He's really good on that thing of, how powerful a force youth can be for political change. But that's not always good, because youth is not always right. And we have the examples of, the Cultural Revolution, Khmer Rouge, and all sort of stuff. Exactly. Yeah, so it's he's a great one to read on all this, and they're fun books as well. There's lots of sex in them. Well, maybe I should wind up, because I think my food is nearly here, so I better not let them hang around in the rain. But thank you, Artie, for joining in and making it slightly less awkward. That was really nice of you. It's weird, Helen and Benji not being here. We need to We need to see them.
Yeah. Well, we'll see Helen in a couple of days on our podcast.
That is true. Don't forget, tune in for the mess we're in. We'll do another one soon. And yeah, can I just say thanks to everyone who put that We Love Glinner thing together on Twitter. It was really nice to see. I've been monitoring it and enjoying it. And yeah, I'll see you on the flip side. Bye everyone.
Slán.
Bye Artie. Sláinte. Bye bye.